Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
We'll get better at this, I promise.
Okay.
All right, so there's a couple of people that might trickle in, but I figure maybe let's just get started now. So thank you guys for jumping on here and joining us tonight. And thanks for being so interested in what we have going on here. We're really excited to share with you this new training, this new course that we're offering everyone. So you wanna just go ahead and share the screen with our people here with a little slideshow so you guys can follow along. Perfect. Great. So we wanted to call this training Learn Yourself, and the reason why we wanted to name it that was that really exploring who we are on so many different levels so that we can access parts of ourselves that that maybe we're not paying that much attention to. And there's a whole lot that goes on in your yoga practice that we're not really able to tap into in just any of our group classes. So it really brings full circle the stuff that's missing from your yoga classes and brings together your whole mind-body experience. So Gab, you want to talk more about that?
So the one thing that came up for me, and I use the analogy of when I was going to school, when I went to and got my yoga training, they did a lot of anatomy work, and I did a lot of like Bhagavad Gita or like yoga type philosophy. And as you start to move through the practice, any type of physical practice really, but yoga specifically because you're linking the breath so much with your movement. And as I started to move through that and I started to have this experience, I felt like there was a big aspect, like a gap in my teaching of like, wait a minute, what happens when all this stuff comes up for me? And not only now is it coming up in my practice, but now I'm teaching it. And what happens when it starts coming up for my students? Like what happens when it starts coming up in the community? So I liken it to when I was in school, I was taking music and theory composition and studying my violin, and I was writing music, and I got accepted a scholarship into Composer's Practicum. And while I was in there, they were all working on like this very rudimentary like program. So I thought I could do better, and I went out and I did a whole nother master's online at Berkeley for my music production. And I would go into the Composer's Practicum with like this awesome sounds and like just blowing through it. And I bring that up because I feel like there's a gap with the training. And this, to be clear, this isn't a yoga teacher training. This is a training for us to learn ourselves more, hence the name. And my wife and I always felt like, man, there's got to be more. There's a gap between this. So we decided to put together this training to bridge that.
Yeah. So, what's out there a lot is, or many trainings that are out there right now is like, you either want to be a yoga teacher, you have to take a course to learn more about your practice and yourself through becoming a teacher. Or there's just not really there's not an in between. So this really is filling that gap there. So this is a program that is breaking a lot of bounds in regards to the industry right now. And it's also breaking the bounds of just what's holding you back. A lot of times we don't even know what's holding us back. And bringing light to the things that might not be working, they lose their power. And so there's always something that we can work on, right? We're always engaged to some extent. There's always a hurdle that we're jumping over. There's always, even in your yoga practice, when you get to do a handstand, then there's like scorpion handstand, right? So like anything that you do, there's always going to be something more, and your practice and your life is going to keep on asking you to level up in some way. And there's always going to be some kind of limitation that's going to come up there. And so we want to dive into that as well and take that off of your mat and into your life, so that you can explore where is it in your life right now that you might just be hitting a wall, right? Because how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yeah, so to elaborate on that, back to the school analogy, when I went through the yoga teacher training, I said, man, there's got to be more to this. And so I did the same thing that I did with composing, with music, and I put myself into self-development trainings. So I said, how can I find trainings, or how can I do something more so I can give more back to the community, so I can give more back to my students? So understand these blockages or these shortcomings in myself. So understand my state of being, how I'm showing up, how I show up for people, where my shortcomings are, and how I can blow through that. So I started enrolling myself in all different types of personal production trainings rather than music production. And I studied and went into this and just like went through the ringer on them, called my wife, enrolled her into coming into a bunch, and we just took off from there. So now in this training, we get to bring that information, we get to bring those trainings here along with how to move better, because your body tells your story. Not to get too far ahead of what you want to talk about there. Go ahead.
Hey, there we are. So this brings us to a little bit about who we are. And I know a lot of our community already kind of knows the gist of what of who we are and what we bring. But beneath the surface, you know, it took a lot for us to get to a place that we feel that we have a lot to share with you guys. And so it wasn't always so easy, and not to say that it's easy now, but it's just different. And most of you know that Gabriel had an experience with cancer in his early 20s that brought him to where he is now. You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
No. It's cool.
And so what you guys might not know about me is I actually had post-traumatic stress. And I went through a lot of different kinds of abuse, and that kind of brought me to face a lot of trauma in my life. And there was a point in my life that I really couldn't actually function. And then it wasn't really until I started engaging with yoga and meditation, and I started changing things in my diet, and then I started changing things in my belief system, that I really was freed from those bounds. And then we met. And then once we met, we realized that we actually share a lot in common in the way that, you know, what we've overcome in both of our lives combined. You know, we have so much to offer and share with you guys as to like where you are now and where you could be in 5 or 10 years from now is unbelievable if you just forget what you think you know and take yourself on in a whole new way. So what you guys are going to learn in this training is basically what we were already talking about, is putting an end to the patterns within you, both physical and mental. And what the issues are in our tissues. So whatever you're dealing with emotionally in your life, it's also going to show up physically in your practice. And then also exploring yourself on a physical level, exploring our practice on a physical level, in depth, in ways that
you can't get into in an hour.
Yeah, we just can't get into it in a class. I mean, the way that your hips, your pelvis is a powerhouse, and learning about, the possibilities that are there for you if you can really just access your hips in a whole new way. Same thing goes for your shoulders. Same thing goes with all the joints in your body. There's so much more that's possible for you than what you already know right now.
There's a whole bunch of stuff that I'm working on also that isn't like traditional yoga teaching as well, that I have different modules that I'm going to be releasing with my wife through this training that help to access the body in that way that you just can't get into in a standard 75 or 90-minute vinyasa class. And for me, what's exciting about that is that my vision in the future is to be able to like cue very minimally in a class and have a method that when we get in, we put on some cool music or no music, whatever it is, and it's very minimal cueing, and everyone kind of knows where they're going, similar to a Mysore Ashtanga class, if you're familiar to that, like what Brittany does sometimes. But where we have this method to where we know the most optimal way to move our bodies, to open it up, and that's going to give us the most benefit, linked with some specific breath work, which then we can have this transformative experience with a bunch of people that are all up on their game through trainings like this.
And so also part of that is investigating, you know, what it is, what your purpose is, why you're here, and creating a vision for yourself. And it's only when we can hone in on what it is that we want to create for ourselves that's outside of our current circumstance that we can really discover the truth of what we're capable of. Because what you're capable of is not in the confines of your current circumstance. What you're capable of exists outside of what you already know right now.
For all of us.
And so with that said, there are some skills, some tools that we've got that really will show you how to lead your life and lead your practice in a whole different way. And then also with that, being able to look at yourself in a whole new way, empower yourself and break through what is holding you back right now. And it's all based on your beliefs. So bringing up and bringing to the surface what drives you, what drives your decisions, what drives why you want to practice, what drives your current goals right now, what your driving force is all based on your belief system. And so bringing those things up, those beliefs that you have, it could be, you could figure out that maybe they're not working out for you right now, right? You could figure that out. You could figure out that actually they are working for you and they're great, so you're going to hold on to them, right? But when you bring something up to the surface, it loses its power or it gains power. So all different ways of bringing those things to the forefront so that you can really get in the driver's seat of your life and gain some tools just to be healthy all around.
Guys, I was just, while my wife was talking, I'm just going to point the camera over here. That's all the stuff I've been working on right now. And so a lot of it comes down to just creating context. Like once a mind is exposed to a new idea, it never goes back to its original form. So a lot of this stuff through epigenetics, through your DNA, through just your state of being, you have a lot of this already in you. I had a lot of it already in me. It's about unlocking that potential. And it's about just creating a certain context to wrap your mind around, and a new way of living, a new way of watching your thought patterns, a new level of awareness through this context, which then you do the work to create it. But by being held accountable and being in a group like this and being around people like myself, my wife, and yourself, once you start to get this going and being a mirror for one another, magic happens.
So here's the meat and potatoes of what this course is going to look like. So one thing I want to note is that it's a 6-month course, and we kind of toyed around with like 8 months, 10 months, but I think 6 months is a really good. It's long enough and it's short enough. So we settled on 6 months, and so what you're going to get here is every single month there's going to be 3 group accelerator calls, and those accelerator calls are going to focus on how you're going to achieve your goals in this course and what it takes to get what you're looking for. So all these, it's going to add the context to what we're saying, basically, and give you some new ideas and new tools to apply both in your practice and in your life. And the group calls are really powerful because you get a period of time at the end of the training in the call that's Q&A. And so when there's Q&A, there's opportunity for coaching. And one person's coaching is another person's coaching, right? So it's really good to listen to somebody else and what they're going through so that you can also apply that in your life. And then also you get 2 20-minute private coaching calls with myself or with Gabrielle. And that's really just going to be a one-on-one time that you can, share what's going on for you, and more or less the same thing of focusing on how it is that you're getting from your A to your Z. And there's going to be a private online forum on Facebook. So you'll have, 24/7 access to that. And then in that forum, we're also going to be sharing with you just, exclusive trainings that we've pre-recorded that, are going to be of value for you guys and that we're learning and that we're up to right now. And that's either going to be based on something that is a life principle or based on something that is actually in your body.
Or both.
And then also you get to come to Summit. So I think most of you are already members, and you get a limited group yoga classes, so you can come in as you please, and for the whole 6 months.
Yes, I think it's important. When we were putting this together, we were trying to figure out how to create the most amount of value. And so we're thinking about well, if someone's already paying an unlimited here, what's just packs this with value, and then what can we add more to it that wouldn't break the bank?
Totally. And then the third Sunday of every month, there's going to be a live, it says virtual here, but it's actually not virtual. The live workshop is at the studio. It's not virtual.
It's going to be the third Sunday of every month.
Yeah, the third Sunday every month. So it'll be between 2 and 4 hours, depending on the content that we're going to be going over. And that's where you guys are going to connect with each other. You're going to get some one-on-one training, and that's really going to be focused around a lot of the physical stuff that we're working on. Which brings us to, so here we are, and most of us are in our comfort zone. Most of us are in that small circle where things are really familiar, and we're in the confines of what we already know. We're in the confines of what we already know to be true. And I know this is actually a really common picture, so you guys have probably seen it before. And then what exists outside of that, right? So when we're presented with an opportunity, we're presented with an opportunity to create change in our life, right? Most of us will stay in the small circle, in the confines of what we already know, of what's familiar. But what we don't know is that in order to make or embrace any great change or shift in your life, there's a whole world that exists outside of that. And it's leaning into what you don't know. That's where the magic happens. And what's possible for you, here in this pie chart, this is pretty profound. So what you know compared to everything that you don't yet know, is amazing. It's literally amazing. However, a lot of us stay in that 10, 15% where we're just so convinced with what we already know, even if it's not working, right? Even if it's not working, it's because it's just so familiar to us that we can't see outside of it, right? So there is what you know, and then there's what you know that you don't know. Okay, so I might know about
yoga, but you don't know about
yoga,
jiu-jitsu.
but I don't know about jujitsu, but I know about jujitsu because I know jujitsu, but I also don't know a lot of it, but I know that I don't know a lot of it. I'm aware of that, right? So there's things that I'm already aware that I don't know. But guys, there are things that we don't even know that we don't know, right? So we can't even begin to wrap our head around that, right? It's mind-blowing. So, and this always blows my mind. And this really is the center of possibility. And so if you're already like now trying to figure out what the frick we're talking about and what this training is all going to be about, right? Like, trust me when I say that in order for you to really lean into this, you're going to have to drop what you think you know and what you think you don't know. Does that make sense? So again, it's like, it blows my mind every time, because whenever, even I'm faced with this all the time, is whenever I face some kind of resistance around accepting a new belief, I have to just remember that there's so much that I don't know. And what if, right? What if I just leaned into that I have no freaking clue, right? What if you just were there? Because if you are there, there's so much that you can gain that you can't even wrap your head around right now. And that's where the magic happens. And so, and so here's another nugget for you guys. And these are some things that, that we live by every day. And it's also a constant practice. So in order for us to have anything that we want in our life, right? And let's just think about, like, if you could sit and ask yourself what you want in your life, it's not going to be a thing, right? Like, if you really sat and asked yourself, like, what is it that you want, right? It's not going to be like a house, a car. I want that, right? At the end of the day, there are things that we want, and it's all about how we want to feel, right? Like, because what the car or what the house or what the money, right, would do is, we have this idea that it's going to bring us happiness, or it's going to bring us peace, or it's going to bring us a feeling of being content, right, and abundant or fulfilled. So the things we really want in our life are actually not things; they're actually states of being, right? Like, success is not is not a thing. Success is a feeling. It's how you feel. Happiness is not a thing. Happiness is how you feel. So this brings us to this new mentality here. If you keep on chasing things like, once I have this, then I'll be able to do this, right? So like, once I'm not really sure about this training right now, right? Like, I'm not really sure, if I can wrap my head around it, and I'm not really sure, I want to just make sure that I get this one thing done before I pay this one bill before I can do this. And once I do that, once I pay this bill, then I'll feel really good to do this, right? But it's actually not the way that things work. The way things work is actually the state of being that you want, like what you want right now in your life, the way that you want to feel, it's already there for you. It's already there, right? So if you could close your eyes and think about how you want to feel and what you really want in your life, right? And I hope you're not driving, but if you could close your eyes and just think to yourself, what would make you feel fulfilled and whole, right? What that feeling is, if it's happiness, if it's joy, if it's that you want to feel abundant, peaceful, right? Like, call on that part of you that already knows how to feel that, right? That's the state of being. And then once you embody all of those things, once you are already what you think you want to be, what you think you need to do certain things in order to be that, all of your actions in your life, driven by the way that you want to be and feel, are going to bring you what it is that you actually want. So I hope that makes sense for you. And again, these are things that we will be bringing a lot more context to once we dive into this training and this course. And there's a lot here to gain. It just takes letting go of what it is that you think you know. and letting go of what you think you don't know. So is there anything you want to add, God?
So when we were talking about what we were going to put on the webinar, I really wanted to give something with value, and not that the other things don't, but this right here, this is it. Like, this is the secret. This is the training, and this is like the secret sauce. If you just leave with this tonight, you got it.
Screenshot.
Yeah. And but accessing this requires a lot of work. It's something I work on daily. I've been working on it for, like, I don't know, the first training I did, my yoga training was like 15 years ago. And then I started the personal development trainings from there. And there's a lot of context around understanding the distinctions for this, which is what this training is based around. But the way I describe this is all of society right now, for the most part, what we call the quote unquote the drift, like when your mind starts to drift and you start comparing yourself, you're scrolling through Facebook or Instagram or your favorite social media site, and you start comparing yourself and you're like, oh, once I get that car, then I'll get the girl of my dreams. Or once I get the house, then I'll be happy. So we associate it with having things or having tangible things. But, and if you've been in my classes a lot, I've spoken about how our bodies and our antenna and our resonance and our state of beings, which we can access through breath. I mean, which angle of the triad do you want to bring it in from? From breath, from physical, through your state of vibration. And through the yoga poses and this movement, we create different shapes, sacred geometry, antennas, which have different states of beings, but not to digress too much, with different vibrations, which will attract different states of beings. But it's the state of being that is the attraction. And when you can align with who that person is, and I did a podcast on it, so one of my teachers used to always yell at me and say, Gabriel, who you be? When you can tap into the state of being that the person that has that type of life or lives that way, or when you can tap into that, then that's the formula. But the key is learning the context to tapping into that be, do, have. So it's not once you have the sports car, you're going to get the girl. It's who do I get to be in order to purchase that sports car or that home or get that job or whatever it is, build a yoga studio, marry this one. Like, what's my state of being that I get to resonate with in order to manifest all of this? It's alchemy, but I don't want to get too far off.
Anyway, all right. So, so that's really this is it for you. This is it. But we wanted to actually give you guys an opportunity here if you want to sign up for the training. If you want to sign up tonight for the training, we do have this. So we do have something that we have a special that we wanted to bring to the table here. So after August 1st, it is $397 a month, and what that looks like is $2,382. So tonight, if you want to register, we're going to give you a free float. We're going to give you a free sauna session, and then also that brings the total down to $1,985. So if you want to register tonight, it's actually going to take us for the next 24 hours. That will expire.
I just want to speak into that.
Yeah.
So when we were trying to figure out what we're going to do, if we have someone like Spence, Renee, any of our other clients that are there, you guys are already paying $175 a month. You're invested in Summits. Like I said, our vision for this moving forward, I can see this being like, people don't want to just lift weights and do those types of things. I can see this being like the new way of just being, the new way of practicing. And so what are the tools that we use? Well, I use the float tank all the time. We use the sauna all the time. These are things that help with our state of being. So if you add these on top of a $175 membership plus an $89 float plus a $59 sauna, and you look at what the differences that you're going to have, it's minimal. And I wanted to package it up. We wanted to package it up so that it was a no-brainer. so that our community can blossom through this.
Hey guys, so let's get back.
You hit the green.
Screen share.
Yeah. Did you hit it?
No. This one. So there we go. You guys have any questions for us before we jump off here? And if you wanted to even just talk one-on-one, that's always an option. But if you have any questions here, now's the time.
You guys can type right in here.
But thanks so much for jumping on and joining us. We appreciate you guys coming. So yeah, so we're actually gonna email you guys a link to the training if you wanted to sign up tonight. And that's about it. Anything else you want to add, Gav?
No.
Cool. All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining.
Oh.
Could you maybe just highlight the non-yoga portions of the 6-month course? Yeah. Whoa. Okay. Yes. Okay. Are you putting a manual together? So the non-yoga portions of the course are really, you know, what we've highlighted thus far. Like I said, there's a lot of context that we're talking about right now that you might not really understand, and I think that might be what you want us to speak into. So here's one of the things that we're going to start off with is goal setting. And I actually am offering a free course to all of our students in all of Summits on Saturday. So there's a little sneak peek there into what that's going to be about. But everything's going to kick off with a 2-hour vision and goals course that's specially designed just for this training. And what you're going to get to create there is a vision for yourself, not just in your yoga practice. You're going to get to create a vision for yourself and what it is that you want to create in your life in the next 5 or 10 years. And what that looks like in all domains in your life. So we all have a career. We all have things we want to aspire to be, right? We want to monetize that. We have our health goals and our fitness goals. We have finance, right? We have our relationships in our life. Everything is yoga. Everything. It's just exploring the relationship. It's just exploring the relationship that we have to those things. That connection, that's your yoga practice, right? That's where it comes from. Just doing a down dog on your mat. You can explore a down dog from so many different angles. And what you're actually going to learn is that all of the distinctions that we're going to be bringing to you that are off of the mat, when we actually do our physical practice, you're going to be able to apply those same principles into yoga practice and actually be able to practice them in motion. Because so I digress. I don't want to confuse you guys too much. So yes, we're putting a manual together. As we go, like I said, there's a lot of things like, you know, everything is going to be intentionally rolled out so as not to blow your brains because there's so much information. So at the end of this course, you're going to have a full manual, but the way that we roll it out is that it's not going to look like here you go, if that makes sense. So everything's going to ride off of a vision and goal session, because this also rides off of the be, do, have model. Once you have a vision of what it is that you want to create for yourself, it's a trickle down effect. Like the process and the how to and like the doing, like if you get so caught up in that, and you might even feel like that in your life right now, is that like when you get so caught up in the process and the doing, it feels like you just have to do something and you become really reactive, right? You just don't have anything bigger that you're working towards. But when you do have something that you want to actually create and you're clear on that, right? You have clarity around that and you're being supported to get you to that point, then all of the process, the how to, and the nitty gritty of all that stuff, like you have fun, or it doesn't even freaking matter, right? Because you're so focused, you're so hyper focused on what it is that you want to create. So details on days and times. I'll make sure I can attend all sessions. So the accelerator calls, the live calls, they're going to be in the evening because I think, you know, most of us are working, and in order for all of us to make a live call happen, it's probably going to be held during the week and in the evening, likely after 7:30. So we're thinking around 8 o'clock. So we'll probably have those calls then. And then the like we had mentioned, the workshops, the Sunday workshops, those are going to be the third Sunday of every month. And they're going to likely start between 11 and 12. So once the studio is closed for the day, we have the main studio to work in, and then it's not going to be all day long. There'll probably be about between 2 and 3 hours, maybe 4 hours if it's really something that we know is going to need a lot of time. But between 2 and 4 hours, and then anything else that we're doing, like the videos, any recordings, like that's just going to be for you to listen to, which brings me to everything is going to be recorded. So anything that we do that's live, like the accelerator calls, those are going to be recorded. So if you did miss them, you're going to have an opportunity to listen in. You just wouldn't have the opportunity to ask a live question, obviously.
Yeah, we wanted to set this up, Spence, so that and everybody, we wanted to set this up so that it wasn't just something you had to make all the time and really regimented, because we all have crazy busy schedules. So we're like, how can we make this so that we still have the connection of all getting together, hence the Sundays, but we can still get the information and use the force, so to speak, to communicate and to have the training.
Cool. Anything else?
Awesome, guys.
Great question. So this program is actually going to start, what is this? The program's going to start September 1st. We were going to start it in October, and then we actually decided that we get to do it sooner because we are really pumped and excited to start doing this with you guys and just get going on it. So it's going to start September 1. So the one-on-one sessions with one of you would be scheduled as needed. Yes. So those are going to be, you're going to have those 2 calls every month. Those are going to be scheduled preferably monthly. Once we pick a day and a time, like that is just going to be what you go with every single month. So, and if that needs to change, obviously we can work around that schedule.
Is that Kim?
Yeah. Right. Kim, your name.
Kimmy, is that you, or is this Mark I'm talking to? Anything else, guys?
So the one-on-one sessions with one of you.
Oh, it's Mark. Hi. Yeah, I knew it was Mark.
Mark. Hi, Mark.
Yeah, it's not Kim.
Awesome. Hey there.
So the one-on-one sessions with one of you would be scheduled as needed.
Yeah, that's what we just answered.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah. All right.
Nice to meet you, Mark.
Yeah.
Our one of the teachers here is Kim DeMatteo.
Same last name, so that's funny. Is the unlimited yoga only for yoga or also jiu-jitsu?
No, we can do it for jiu-jitsu also.
For jiu-jitsu as well.
It's access to the academy. Whatever's going to help your transformation, then. Spence, you got to get back in.
So Spence has no excuses now. He can do either or.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, shoot us hello@summit'sbodymind.com and we'll schedule a call. No problem, Mark.
I'm just putting our email in there. And guys, so if you have any other questions, some one-on-one questions, you want some one-on-one time, just please don't hesitate to reach out. Most of you probably know our number, so you can reach out that way. And then also there's hello@summit'sbodymind.com, and let's work together and let's do it. All right.
Yeah, guys, thanks so much.
Yeah. All right. Good night, everyone.